if you're planning to work on developing or working on building generative AI applications on Microsoft Azure Cloud, or whether you're preparing for AI certification like AI 900 or AI 102, you'll be working on a service called Azure OpenAI service, which is basically on and including a studio. And in order to build and manage and develop your applications, or especially specifically generative AI applications on Microsoft Azure Cloud, and that's the first thing you'll be doing, which is provisioning a resource on Microsoft Azure Cloud for Azure OpenAI service. Now, what is an Azure that resource is called? What is a resource group? And you'll need few other things in order to build that. And that's what we'll be covering in this video. And I'm going to cover step-by-step instructions on first creating an Azure account. If you don't have, what are the prerequisite, what are the difference between few other things that you'll be needing, and everything from a basics, right from in order to create, we'll be creating a region, what that means. Then we are going to go and actually create a resource group, what that means, subscriptions, all those things that you need to know. If you already have Azure background, you probably might already know some of those things, but if you're not, we'll cover that as well. Now, just to give you some context, the video has been actually taken from our generative AI program training program, so you might hear some references around that, so ignore that completely. Also, below this video, I think we are going to go more detailed step-by-step instructions, and I'm going to refer to a guide, step-by-step guide. And if you want to get hold of that guide, I'm going to put them in our website, which is available on k21academy.com/Azure AI ML 12, which is as like the URL, and there you will have instructions. But you on this video also might be playing. I'm recording it for YouTube, but then it's also or and LinkedIn, and it will be available on our website as well. And on that page, on this URL, there'll be the guide will be there, so you can download that guide and run it and create your first resource, which is called as Azure OpenAI resource. So and then yeah, so download from that side. Also, if you're preparing for AI and machine learning certification for Microsoft Azure, there's something certifications called AI 900 and then AI 102. And then for data science and machine learning, we have the, I think, DP 100. We'll be talking on DP 100. Yeah, so you'll be description. If you want to know more about these certifications, that will be available in a separate video and a separate URL, which is, I think, k21academy.com/Azure AI ML 11, number 11. Okay. Now, with that, without spending too much time, now I'm going to go straight to the video. But before that, very quickly, if you don't know me, my name is Atul and I'm also founder of K21 Academy with more than close to 2.5 decades of IT experience. Last more than a decade in cloud and multi-cloud, and last 2-3 years been implementing AI and machine learning, and recently now generative AI for a lot of our clients. So I'm going to create a whole series so you can learn and understand these things. And on a weekly basis, you'll get more and more videos like this about building, generating, or building and managing these generative AI applications on Microsoft Azure Cloud. So with that, let's go straight onto this video. Hey there, this is Atul from team K21 Academy, and in this video, we're going to look at creating a Azure Open AI service. And we're going to use both the methods console and CLI. And if you're working on generative AI or the basic AI or generative AI on Microsoft Azure Cloud, this is the first lab you will be doing, which is you're creating this whole resource through which we'll see Azure Open AI Studio, and through which we'll be basically importing LLMs, which is a large foundation models. Basically, sorry, we'll be using foundation models, deploying them, playing with them in future. But in this case, we are going to create first that service, and we're going to use two methods. One is console and CLI. Now, I'm going to cover as we do with every lab that you see. I'll explain you the first what this whole lab is end to end, so that you can understand, and then we'll go and explain you. We'll go actually and connect to the console of Microsoft Azure Cloud, and then we'll perform. So we'll first, as I said, all our documents first will be about introduction. I'll explain a little bit more and give you some context and some concepts around what is Azure OpenAI service and associated things you will need, which is things like resource groups, subscriptions, and a lot of other things that we go later as we go move forward. We'll cover that. Also, these are concepts, key concepts you'll be learning, which is like OpenAI, GUI method, or CLI, and so on. We'll also look at the documentation link that we've used to create this document and other supporting document that will help you to learn better into this guide. Also the prerequisite, which is I think you should already have either a free or paid account. If you don't have, we'll give you the step on how to create step by step. Also, there's one more thing which is about is creating a billing alert, which is not mandatory, at least for this lab, but in future labs, it's good to have that budget and billing alert, even if you have a free account, so that you can measure how much you're spending, though it will be free. Next is also cost to perform this lab. It's absolutely zero, but then it's always we follow this principle of telling you at least when you perform this lab or in future labs you're going to do, how much that will cost you, though it will not cost you anything because you're doing in a free account, but it'll tell you because you only get, I think, $200, $300 credit, that much you'll be eating up from that. Also, we'll look at creating an Azure OpenAI resource, which means we're going to use both the methods console and the CLI. And later in the future videos, then we're going to, or future labs, we are going to actually use this OpenAI Studio, in which we are going to import the foundation models, and then we'll use things like playground and a lot of other things you'll be seeing there. Once this is done, actually, we're going to share our learning. I'll explain you why this learning is important. We need to build our LinkedIn profile, and maybe I'll explain you those reasons as well. And finally, make sure that before you go, if you want to delete, you can keep this particular lab. There's not required to delete, but I'll give you the steps on how to delete it, both from a console as well as from CLI. And the last part is going to be troubleshooting. Like every other lab, you should have a step in terms of if you hit any problems, you probably should be going into this troubleshooting section, because anytime anyone else encounters a problem, we're going to update it here as well. Now, worth looking at the scenario and the description, but in this case, I'll explain you simple. Anything that you're doing with generative AI, you will need this. First is about Azure OpenAI resource, and from there you will have the studio or the tools, necessary tools for you to uh, do everything related to generative AI on Microsoft Azure cloud. That's what it is. So think of this as Azure cloud, um, outside box, and there you have a Azure OpenAI service, and it'll leverage network to connect. If you're coming from an external source, you'll be connecting to this. We'll cover that as we move forward inside this. Or you can have multiple instances of Azure AI service, and later we will look test dev, and as we move forward inside the program, we'll go deeper into these things, and we will have multi-environment. We'll have a test dev prod like you do, and then we'll be using how to use those pre-trained models, foundation model, both for text generation, sentimental analysis, video generation, DALI, image generation, and all those things that you're going to see in that. Now, this lab should not take more than even 30 minutes. It should be quicker than that. On the safer side, we said 60 minutes is more than enough for you to perform. I'm hoping that we'll finish it within 30 minutes. Now, OpenAI, it's a cloud-based service from Microsoft Azure, which is basically access to the more advanced models like GPT, GPT-3, GPT-4, DALI, and all the other things, because the ChatGPT is a GPT implementation by OpenAI, and then OpenAI, Microsoft has around 60% share. We'll be looking at that as we go forward. Now, there are two ways, or in fact, there are three ways to create and manage these resources. We call in Microsoft Azure Cloud. One is graphical user interface, which is the console that I'm going to show to you here. I've already logged in, and if you've not logged in, if you don't know, I'll explain you how to come to this point and how to have this free account and etc. as well. The second is about command line. We'll see that command line as well as you go forward here. You come and then look at this command line, which will be seeing that command line, or you can install a command line on a laptop and then integrate or authenticate and do a login on from that command line, and then connect to the cloud, but on from a laptop on a command line. That is we're going to cover in the future videos, the future lab if you want to do. That's another method. Also, then third one is REST APIs. We'll talk, I'm not covering it here, but I'll show it to you, and maybe later when we are actually programmatically doing that's when we're going to use REST APIs as well to do whatever we are doing here. Now, these are the documentation link. You can refer to these links to go deeper, and if you want to learn all this and go further reading as well. Now, prerequisite, make sure that you have a free or either paid or free trial account. And if you go to this URL on our school inside, you should already have access to this, which is it's taking you to Azure for Beginners class that will help you to do these hands-on labs. So Azure for Beginners, you will have the basic idea about Azure Cloud. It's worth watching. So everything in a short, crispy manner so that you have a full picture of about entire Microsoft Azure cloud, all the services that you see, right, in terms of compute, networking, storage, identity access management, security, the data migration, uh, like the interfaces to connect, consoles, regions, geography, availability domain, fault domain, all those things will be covered here. And this is where we do the hands-on lab, the basic hands-on lab, where you create a free trial account. And then another one is a billing alert. As I said, you don't need to worry about in this particular lab, but in future, it's always good to have this billing alert. Make sure that you refer to this. So there'll be a video, and then just below that, there'll be activity guide. So the way I'm doing this activity guide, below that, there'll be videos as well. And I'm going to put this into the portal, which I'll explain you where to find in our generative AI program. You're watching this in generative AI program. Let me actually show it to you where that URL is as well. I'm going to pause for a minute. I'll go to that URL and then I'll show it to you. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to this our cloud school, K21Academy.com cloud school, and then you could come to the classroom and you can search here Azure GenAI. Come on. So you come to the classroom and go to the page number 8 on this, and then you will see develop and generative AI. This is where you see self-study, and all the live session recording will be under the one next to I explained you here. And you come here and this is where you will be having this lab that you're watching. This is where I'll be uploading this video as well that you see that you're seeing here. So you come here, so do this, basically perform both the labs as a prerequisite lab. Make sure you perform a prerequisite. The billing is, as I said, is not required, but the first one is important for you. You should have that free account. That's where we're going to test it and log in as now. Now, as I said, there's no cost to perform this lab, but later as we go and you can look at the prices and the other services, you can reach out, you click on this link, and in future when we perform the labs, we'll tell you how much each lab cost, which will probably under $1, which is a couple of cents, which is quite cheap as long as you don't leave them running and delete those models as well. But we'll talk about this pricing later as when we need them. Now, as I said, there are two ways to create an OpenAI resource. First thing is about creating a console. I'm going to explain you. I will go straight to the console, and as I go into each of these components, I'll explain you if you're new to Azure. If you're already familiar with the Azure, maybe fast forward or skip that particular part which I'm explaining so that you understand. Now, you're going to go to a URL portal.azure.com, which I've already opened, and I'm assuming you've already logged in. Let me minimize myself here. And okay, let me shorten this and move it here. So what happens is when you log in, you've already logged in and you will be seeing port like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to come here and search for OpenAI, Azure, just search for OpenAI and you'll see Azure OpenAI. Now this is for generative AI, and there's something called as Azure AI service, which I'll be talking about later. The difference between OpenAI and Azure AI service, which will be covering, explaining. Probably this should already be above this video or below this, where in the portal you should be having where is a separate video explaining what is the difference between these two services, but we will be working on OpenAI. Which one to use when, what to use, all those are covered in that video. So maybe worth watching that. It should be on the same module or before or prior to the next to that module. So we are going to click on this Azure Open Services, or otherwise you can come here and you can look at under all the services, and under all services you have Azure AI service, which is under you have OpenAI service. Now, this is where you're going to go and create your first Azure OpenAI service. So click on Azure OpenAI service and we'll create very straightforward on this here. Now, this is where I'm going to select and say, what is my subscription? So subscription is, let me open the one more thing and parallelly, I'm going to explain this. Uh, and there'll be wonderful documentation, each of these. So you can click here, it'll give you more information. So as I said, all resources in an Azure subscription are built together. So whatever resource I'm creating in this subscription, they'll be built together. I can have multiple subscriptions. If you're doing a free trial, you'll be looking at maybe free trial here. If you're a student pass, you might be doing student pass. Now, if you're a student pass, not all the services in AI and machine learning will work. So be careful with that point. So either you should have a free account or a pay-as-you-go model account, or Microsoft partner. We are a Microsoft partner. That's why you can see that. Now, I'm going to explain all these things as we are moving forward, because it's always good to know those concepts as well, not just Azure OpenAI services. This is where you can go and see what all subscription you have. You might have an active service subscription and so on. and then I have one subscription which is active that at this minute right now, which is Microsoft certified partner. Now, this is where I'm going to create. First thing I'm going to do is a resource group, and resource group, as name suggests, if you get information, it's a collection of all the resources. Resources in this case, I'm creating a OpenAI resource. That's a resource. Virtual machine is a resource. Network is a resource. Storage is a resource. Anything that I create and manage collectively or create is a resource, and managing them, life cycle management of those resources is called as resource group. Later part, I'm going to delete the service, and if I delete the resource group and tell it to delete all the resources within that resource group will be get deleted. So that's basically managing at the same time. Now I'm going to create a resource group name. You can pick any of name choice resource group. Let's stick to what we have covered in this. On this resource group name, we've created a Azure K21. Instead of that, I'm going to create is an K21 OpenAI or GenAI. We're going to create it as a part of GenAI. So K21-GenAI. In your environment, you might want to club together as a dev, test, UAT, or a department, or whatever you want to do it. So we'll say create one, and I'm going to say K21-GenAI. I'm creating them under GenAI resource group and click on OK. It'll go and create a resource group because we don't have one, it'll create one. Now, this is where I'm going to select a geography or a country, and within that country, in which data center is going to create that particular Azure OpenAI service. So in this case, as you can select any of your choice, but or by the way, sorry, Azure API is not right now available in all the regions. You can go and check in what regions it's available, and you can pick that particular region. We're going to pick it East US here. Now you need to give a name of this, and you can again pick whatever name you want to give. I'm going to pick it K21. I think dash is not allowed. We'll double check if it's allowed or not. But OpenAI or maybe Gen, and then I'm going to name is OpenAI, and I'm going to say 01 instance or whatever. Now, currently there's only standard S0 tier, and later there'll be more tiers coming, and then you'll be seeing them depending on your requirement. Pricing will vary here. Now, there's a content review policy, which means when you actually this Azure OpenAI, you're going to use them for learning models, etc. In that case, it basically you can't use certain words and certain things, and you'll be restricted for that. If you want that access, you have to reach out to Microsoft for those, and they're going to monitor all your logs and other things. That's what they're saying. So make sure you read and watch and read this part here. Next is going to when it's going to do three more things: network, tags, and review. So we'll click on the next part, which is network. Now, when I'm connecting to this whole Azure AI service, I can say its type is all network, including internet can access this resource. It so means if I deploy a model later, uh, uh, it can be accessed from all over the internet. That's one. Or I can say it's only selected from a specific network. Then I need to create a network from which is allowed. Or no network allowed. I can disable that. And there's something called as endpoint through which I'll be connecting. We're going a little bit advanced as we go later in the program. We're going to go more advanced about accessing it via the private endpoint. So for the time being, we'll keep it simple and we'll say access it from the all the network. Now next is about tag, and tag is basically a key value pair which will help in your billings and a lot of automations you can do, and for consolidated billing, and you can say it's a dev environment, test environment, you can do it in department wise, and you can do a lot of other things in tags. Again, in our Azure infrastructure job editor program, we cover in these things in detail about tag and how to use them. But for now, we'll leave it blank. Click on next. We are going to review this whole point, and so I'm going to create it. It's say now it's reviewing and see what it's doing. So if you notice here, it's saying, or you can also get a automation template, which is a JSON template that you can use to create through this using the template in future if you want. But we'll simply say click create, and it's going to go and create this resource for me here. And you can set an alert like this, and now it's actually deployment request has been submitted to Microsoft, and it's going to actually go and create this service basically. Now this comes under cognitive services. It's being rebranded, and you'll see those words cognitive services and OpenAI later more and more. We'll talk about all these things, cognitive service, what it is. Now, right now it's deployment progress, and it'll be very quick and it'll be available on this. We are creating a resource group. It's starting on, I'm doing this on 8th of August, and it's basically, we'll talk about what is correlation ID later. Now it's pretty much ready and saying it's ready. So I can go to the resource and this, so my resource is done. That's pretty much I've done. Now later I can go and play with these things. So let me close this part, notification. Now what you can do with this is there are a few things you can do. You can monitor the OpenAI uses. You can develop your application, generative AI applications. You can also use Azure OpenAI Studio to explore and deploy the foundation models, or you can build okay, you can also use Azure AI Studio. As I said at the start, there's a subtle difference between Azure AI Studio as well as OpenAI Studio, so we'll be covering these things. So this is pretty much, and later part I'm going to go and explore the Open Studio. For now I'm going to just open it to show it to you, and later we're going to play with this and we're going to use this to deploy the foundation models. If you're familiar with the concept, but we'll first explain what is foundation models, how to import playgrounds, chat, images, etc. as well, which I'm going to cover in this. So this is, you can play with this. As I said, we're going to go and do a lot of these things, right from like basically build your own knowledge base or external data you can integrate with. You can have a assistance playground, chat playground, completion playground, images playground, Delhi, and a lot of other things we'll be exploring. And there's so you can play with this a little bit here and go with these things. This is a navigation path. It's telling you all those things, what those are, and we'll cover these things later. I'm going to go in detail a separate video talking about all these entire this Azure OpenAI Studio coming in the next part as well. But I want to focus. This is what you have right now. This is where you can look at um, all the other things, security monitoring. You can change a lot of these things if required as well. So that's one part which is we have done is we've just created it using the graphical user interface. Now, if you want to go back, and if you want to go back, if you go back and look at this console again, and if I go to home, and if I look at my Azure OpenAI service, you will see one service which is being created, which is this K21 Gen AI OpenAI. So this is we have created from a console. And status succeeded, is pricing like this, and so on. We are going to create now one from a command line as well. You don't need to, it's more than enough for you, but I want to show you how do you create it using command line. I'm going to explain each of these commands as well, what we're doing, and then we'll go and delete these resources as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste some of these things and then put it in a notepad. And as we move forward, we'll explain these things as well. And again, this is good to have from a command line because in automations and when we go DevOps, CI/CD, you will learn how to do these things in an automated manner. So first is, as I said earlier, we created a resource group. So here what we're doing is we are creating a resource group. So this was a group name. Uh, so we are saying as your group, I'm saying create a resource group. Name of the resource group is this, and this group resource group is located here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what my it was created in East US, and we'll see that East US is location. We want to keep it in the same list. And my this resource group was K21 Gen OpenAI 01. No, sorry. Um, let's see the resource group. So if I click on this, it will tell me in which resource group this is, this is the resource group name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the resource group something like that, but I'll say that, oh, Control V, no, something is gone wrong. So this is K21-GenAI, and then I'll say that CLI-resource group. Okay, so I'll probably do this. So first thing is I'm going to go and create a resource group. So we'll go to the command prompt. We'll open this command prompt here. So what happens is when you run, oh no, cancel this. So it's first time it's going to create a bash or PowerShell. We have already started a Cloud Shell. You can go into the PowerShell as well if you want to. And I'm on this command prompt, and I'm going to go and fire this command. It's already logged in, and hit enter. So what it's going to do is now it's going to go and create a resource group. Now resource group is created. So let me actually show it to you here and see whether we have this resource group being created or not. So we go to the resource groups, and then uh, I think this was the one which we created from a normal. And why it doesn't show it to me? Let's see what's being created. What is the name we created? We created with CLI K21 Gen CLI is not yet there. We'll just double check it. It's created. So maybe I'll refresh this amount here. Yeah, so it's got it now. So maybe it took a few seconds to reflect here. K21 Gen AI dash CLI dash resource group. This is a resource group which I created just now. Now, next is I'm going to actually go and create the resource. And this is where I need this command, which is this one. And I'm going to put it into my notepad. It's always good. This is a new line, which means it's going to go to the next line, next line, and next line. These are the characters. So I'm saying AZ, it's a cognitive service. And I'm saying create an account, which is this account, this but basically resource. And this is my name of the resource, which is a OpenAI resource. So let's go with the same naming convention, which we did earlier. So if I go to this was the name of this here. So what I'm going to do is instead of this, I'm going to say dash CLI. This is now command line interface. My resource group is I'm going to create under this resource group. Your resource group should already exist. If not, it'll fail. So I'm going to select this resource group and I'll say this is my resource group which I'm creating. I'm creating in East US. Kind is OpenAI, which means this is again I'll cover that kind, which is basically uh, um, uh, so what type of this service is this? Is a OpenAI service. SKU is like SKU, store keeping unit, which we keep it. This is basically what pricing tier you keeping it as zero. Now I need a subscription ID, and how you get subscription ID is you go to the here and search for subscription. If you don't know, you can even query it from a command line, but I'm going to go into query in subscription. This is my subscription ID, which I'm going to copy it from here, and then I'm going to go and replace it with the subscription, and this is my command ready. So I'm going to go take this, and again I go to this command prompt and I'm ready to fire this command from here. Well, click and paste and hit enter. Now it's going to go behind the scene and create this deployment or service. So it's saying running. We'll give it a few minutes. I'm going to go to this resource group or this service here, and right now it's only one. We should expect one more, which is a command line. We'll refresh it here and it'll take a few minutes. Once it's created, then we'll come here. So I'm going to pause this video for a few minutes, and as soon as it's done, probably it'll not take no more than 2-3 minutes, and we are good here. So if you see, it's basically I got the response back. There was no error, so which means it fired the command, and all those things that's being successfully created. I just need to come here and refresh this here, and I got my command line. So it's basically created the same thing. Now I'm going to come. We'll cover that the custom domain is not created from command line. We'll look into later why I didn't create a custom domain and what is custom domain. We'll cover when we go deeper into. But at least you got a point now. We click on this command line, you can play with the same thing that you were doing. And then now what we can do is you can even go to the Open Studio. As I said, we were earlier looking at Open Studio. I'll go and open that Open Studio. Should have been opened a new one. Or you can go directly oai.azure.com and it'll open this Resource Studio. Or you can come here and home and I go and open AI. So that's fine. So now it'll open pretty much same thing as well. So we're pretty good now. And the final thing is now, as I said, you've successfully created those both the things from a command line as well. Now it's important, very, very important that you go and update and create a profile or update something on a LinkedIn. I'll explain you why it's important for updating on LinkedIn and how you should be pointing into the LinkedIn as well. So first, an important thing is go to the classroom. If you've not yet gone, and go to the LinkedIn and make sure you go through this module about LinkedIn, why it's important, especially how to update your profile, how to post content, and why it's important for you to post the content, because you need to build an authority in the domain. So when you go for interviews, or you're appearing and people will start knowing you and provide value to them, and you go as a consultant saying that you've been doing these things and explain, write down what you've learned, you can share those. Also make sure that we review your LinkedIn profile, so make sure you get your resume, not resume, sorry, of course we'll do the resume review for part of the job program, but also make sure that you get your LinkedIn reviewed as well if you're preparing for the jobs. Also, why it's important to prepare and share these notes, watch this video, and then if you publish, there are other things as well you might be going through your mind, so make sure you watch these, all of that. But it's post it like which I mentioned, um, maybe a troubleshooting. In this case, you say, hey, whatever I mentioned, if you're creating your LinkedIn, if you're creating a generative AI applications or developing generative AI applications on Azure, first thing you'll be doing this, and explain some of the points like what is the resource group, what is subscription, and all those things for someone who's coming new for this service as well. So it's very important. Also, go and inform our WhatsApp group in the program so that it'll help us others to do the lab. it'll also tell me that you're performing the labs as well. And I think you should be also going into the community, go back and inform in the community, either on go to WhatsApp group or community here, and write down and say completed the first lab or whatever lab, whatever you write down, do it properly in correctly manner and put it into win category. The reason what happens is maybe say completed or created, maybe created um, Azure OpenAI resource. And why we need to do this is because when you perform, you get a dopamine effect, which means you will inspire to do more and more. People will comment and like and share, and it will inspire them to perform labs. You do the lab or they do the lab and it will inspire you to do the labs as well. And that's a fly we want to run and play with that. Now, before we go forward, take a screenshot and share it with the communities and how you're doing it. Maybe this screenshot, which is maybe this one, and show me that you've done actually created a service, in fact, from a command line and from a GUI, and then maybe one of them is enough. And then open Studio and play with the Studio. We'll cover that separately. But before please go delete it. In this case, you don't need to, you can leave it. There's no cost associated with that, but we're going to delete it. Now, there are two ways to delete. I can individually go to all the resources and delete them. Painful. Simple is I'll go to the resource group and delete the resource group. Job done. It'll delete all the resources. I'm going to, from a console, I'm going to go and delete the resource group and it'll delete all the associated resources. And then I'll delete it from the command line one by one so you can see both the options. So I'm coming here. You go to the resource group, which is if you go this the one which we created from GUI, we'll see what was. And again, you can delete either of them. You can one you created from command line, you can delete from GUI or vice versa. That's not a problem. So this is the resource group which I was doing. I'll go there on this resource group and I'll say delete the resource group. Uh, and then when I come here and delete the resource group, I'll copy the resource group name and I have to supply the name of the resource group same as just to safeguard and saying you really want to delete it and click on delete. So delete the resource group and dependency is a permanent action, cannot be undone. Yes, we know that. We want to delete it completely. And when you say you'll get a notification like this saying deleting, and once all the resources are deleted, um, it's pretty much will be gone from here. So you refresh it, keep on refreshing, and after a few minutes, once it's deleted and complete, you will see it's gone from here. While it's deleting, and no, okay, we'll refresh a few more minutes and then it's still deleting. While it's deleting, let's go and look at the command line, how to delete it from the command line as well. So I've done all this. Now, first is I'm going to delete the resource group itself. So I'm going to select this and I need to go to the command line here, and I need is right now instead of create, it's delete. I need to know the name. So name is, this is the name from here. I'm going to copy this, and then my resource group name is, this is a resource group name. So I'm going to delete it because you can have two resources, but under different resource groups, same name and different resource groups. So we'll refresh it here. Oh, still deleting it. Okay, still deleting it. In the meantime, let me open the console one more portal and I'm going to fire parallelly from the command line because I don't want you to wait these two things. And before you go anywhere, I think there's one more thing I want to tell you. Just hold on. It's taking longer than I initially anticipated. We refresh. Okay, it's gone now. So if you notice, my that thing is gone. Now we're going to open and the command line as well now. Or maybe I'll put it here, command line here itself. Let's close this notification here. And the command is this one. We go and fire this command, paste and hit enter and delete it'll go and delete. We'll refresh it here. Once that's done, I'm going to go one more thing, which is about, I need to also delete the resource name. So this is the resource key name. I don't think you need to delete the location. I'm not sure if I really need to give the location, but I'll double check. I don't think you need to give the location name. My resource group name was this. And let's see if I can get away without giving the resource location because I thought. So it's done. We'll refresh it here. So it's gone now from here and we'll finally resource to go paste and then hit. Yeah, I think, oh, so it's going to ask me the confirmation, type yes. And So let me go and update the document as well. So we don't need to delete. the- So let me pause this here. So I've just updated the documentation as well and say when prompted type Y, and that's I think pretty much, no, that's a wrong window. This is for AWS. I was playing with the AWS parallelly. So when prompted, you type Y, which is good. That's exactly what we want, and it'll delete. I'm not sure why it's taking that long. Usually, a resource group is quite prompt. So we'll go to resource group and it'll clean up the resource group as well. So if I go to resource group, and it'll go just double check these things. Always make a good habit of validating. And I think if it's gone, I think it's already gone. CLI is just hanging for some reason. K21 GenAI. Otherwise, no, I think it might be bottom. One second. Yeah, I think it's gone here. It'll be deleted for sure. 100% confident. So that's pretty much, as I said, if you hit any problem, troubleshooting will be under here. And that's pretty much we have completed. So make sure that that's pretty much all about this. In the next lab, we're going to, or this next lab, we're going to look at and go to this studio and we'll play with all these things. We'll be deploying lots of interesting things are coming. We'll be deploying the models. We'll be playing, exporting, importing the models, uh, and we'll play with those playgrounds, exporting our data. Lots of interesting things we're going to cover. Also, give me a feedback about, did you enjoy? Have you performed it? And make sure that please don't just listen, actually act and work. You'll become, a lot of things will become clear. With that, this is Atul from Team K21 Academy. Thanks for watching this, and I'll see you in next lab. Take care and bye for now.